Great big beautiful life. More like great big ugly disaster.
Right. That's certainly one perspective some readers shared about the book we're discussing today. A rather direct assessment.
Direct. It's honest. Some poor soul typed that out, probably after throwing the book across the room. Or maybe they were pacing like that other reviewer, the one trapped on the airplane. Like a caged animal, a literary tiger in coke.
Yes, the airplane pacing anecdote was noted. We are, for listeners just tuning in, attempting to discuss Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. The general understanding is that it involves two rival writers, Alice Scott and Hayden Anderson, competing to write the biography of a reclusive, wealthy heiress, Margaret Ives, on a small island.
Attempting is the key word, because the first thing everyone seems to be fighting about is what this book is. Is it romance? Is it history? Is it a manual on how to bore someone with Ancestry.com deep dives? One reviewer literally screamed to stop misgendering books. Felt that in my soul.
There was considerable debate on the genre classification. Some readers felt it was primarily women's fiction, perhaps with mystery elements, and the romance was more of a subplot. Others, however, seemed to appreciate the blend. One person noted this was so different to her other books, 80% plot, 20% romance, and I low-key ate it up.
Ate it up, like lukewarm soup, maybe, because others called that romance subplot dry and slow burn that didn't even simmer. That's not a slow burn, that's just off, like leaving the gas on without a flame, dangerous and unsatisfied.
The divergence of opinion extended significantly to the storyline concerning the heiress, Margaret Ives. Her backstory formed a large part of the narrative.
Oh, Maggie Ives, or as some affectionately called her, Evelyn Hugo 2.0, or less affectionately a knockoff Evelyn Hugo. People were either utterly captivated, calling her story a masterpiece, necessary to understand the family dynamic, or they were skipping chapters, calling her a white Nepo baby and finding her tale increasingly dull.
The comparison to the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo was indeed frequent. Some found Margaret's story compelling, a testament to sacrifice and resilience. Others found it less engaging. One reader stated, quite plainly, "I was supremely underwhelmed by Margaret's character and backstory as a whole."
Underwhelmed. They spent, according to one calculation, 80% of the book digging through her lineage. Can you imagine? Forget the romance. Let's talk about Great-Aunt Mildred's scandalous affair with the milkman in 1922. Riveting stuff for a supposed romance novel.
Which brings us to the central characters involved in that supposed romance. Alice Scott, the aspiring journalist. Reviewers described her as optimistic, the sunshine type, though one critic rather memorably assessed her as having all the sparkle of a soggy saltine.
A soggy saltine, Otto. That's poetry. You can't buy that kind of description. Poor Alice, trying to be quirky and fun, and someone out there sees damp cracker. And her rival, Hayden, the grumpy Pulitzer-winning grump.
Hayden Anderson, yes, described as brooding, taciturn. Some found him appealing, comparing him to Gus from Beach Read or even Adam Driver possessing Kylo Ren energy. Others found his personality flat, possessing the emotional depth of a half-written poem.
Half-written poem. So potential, but ultimately disappointing and probably rhymed love with Dove. And apparently he went from stone-cold silence to just dumping trauma, like rejected Oscar speeches. Someone said, imagine that whiplash 1 minute silence. The next, and the award for most unexpectedly detailed backstory goes to me.
The dynamic between Alice and Hayden was another significant point of contention. Some readers reported palpable chemistry, electric tension. One specifically mentioned a scene with their legs under a table, saying it had them giggling and kicking my feet every damn time it happened.
Kicking their feet, jiggling, the physical reactions this book provoked. We've got airplane pacing, we've got feet kicking. What's next? Spontaneous interpretive dance. But hold on, because for every giggling foot kicker, there was someone else saying absolutely no chemistry, stiff, repetitive interactions, zero natural progression.
Indeed. One reviewer expressed confusion, stating that around the halfway point, Alice suddenly claims she's fallen in love with Hayden, prompting the reaction, how? When? Where was I? It seems the development felt abrupt to some.
Abrupt. It sounds like whiplash. Like going from 0 to 60 in a car with square wheels. You cannot convince me, as one reviewer put it, that two people who barely interacted for most of the book are suddenly in love. Where's the build-up? The simmering, not even a low flame, apparently.
The contradictions were quite stark across the board. Take the ending, for instance. Some readers found it a spectacular conclusion, with twists they didn't see coming. Others called those same twists ridiculous, absurd, underwhelming, even random.
Random, like pulling plot points out of a hat filled with angry squirrels. One person said a specific familiar connection at the end made them want to bang my head on a wall. Headbanging. We've escalated from foot-kicking. This book is a public health hazard.
The intensity of reader reactions was certainly notable. People reported crying uncontrollably, heaving sobs, ugly crying in the break room at work, needing to lay on the floor and stare at the ceiling. One person apparently got the advance copy and reacted by screaming, throwing up, pinch and punch me, all together.
Screaming, throwing up, and physical assault upon oneself all. That's not reading, that's an exorcism. And speaking of intense reactions, what about the spicier moments? The ones that cause second-hand embarrassment.
Ah yes, the spice or smut scenes. Opinions varied. Some found them cringe and skipped them. One noted lots of dry humping. Another thought it might be the author's spiciest book. Count Wise, while yet another described it as closed door. So, conflicting signals there.
Dry humping, is that even spice? That sounds like static cling and cringe. People skipping pages because they couldn't handle it. Was it awkward or just badly written? The people need to know. Though honestly, maybe ignorance is bliss here.
Reviewers also flagged several potentially sensitive themes woven into the narrative: grief, particularly parental loss, which resonated deeply with some readers. Also mentions of past manipulation by a mentor, body image issues, family dysfunction, the impact of paparazzi. Quite a list provided by some readers as trigger warnings.
A whole buffet of potential triggers: grief, bad parents, cults, dementia, unwanted touching, blackmail, anxiety, plane crashes, car crashes, crowd crushes. It sounds less like a novel and more like a disaster movie marathon hosted by a therapist. Did anyone check if the island was okay after all this?
Amidst the chaos, certain elements did receive consistent praise. Emily Henry's writing style, for example. Even critical readers often called it gorgeous, magnetic, or like beautiful song lyrics.
Magnetic, like it sticks to your fridge. Covered in angsty poetry magnets. Okay, the writing gets points. People apparently tore through 400 pages in one sitting because it was so compelling. Compelling enough to make someone cry while driving past exit 428 on the 5 freeway. Apparently.
Yes, that was another memorable reaction. The atmospheric setting, Little Crescent Island, was also frequently praised. Palpable sense of place, coastal and gorgeous. And for audiobook listeners, Julia Whelan's narration was highlighted as flawless, 10 out of 10.
Okay, so pretty words, pretty island, pretty voice reading the pretty words, got it. But does that make up for the soggy saltine heroine and the half-written poem hero? Or the Evelyn Hugo d'Age Vu? We actually got an email about this from TJR Swifty Foiva.
Oh dear.
Dear Heart Book Radio, she writes, this book is obviously just the last great American dynasty song smashed into a less interesting Evelyn Hugo. Emily Henry owes Taylor Swift royalties and Therapy Co. pays for making me read about Margaret Ives. Hayden is boring. Alice needs a personality transplant. The only good part was the island, 2 stars. Would not recommend unless you enjoy disappointment. P.S. The host sounds like he needs a nap.
Well, TJR Swifty Foiva, thank you for your input. It certainly reflects some of the comparisons and criticisms we've noted. The Taylor Swift and Taylor Jenkins raid parallels were extremely common among reviewers.
So, the final verdict, after wading through the crying, the pacing, the head banging, the soggy saltines, and the magnetic prose, where do we land on Great Big Beautiful Life?
It seems the only consistent thing is inconsistency. Extreme polarization, praised writing, debated romance, a compelling premise for some, a derivative slog for others, an ending that astonished readers, either with its brilliance or its absurdity. It's divisive.
Divisive is putting it mildly. It's a literary cage match, so my official Heart Book Radio rating for Great Big Beautiful Life is 3 giggling and kicking my feet moments, -2 wanting to bang my head on a wall revelations, +1 soggy saltine character assessment. Make of that what you will.
An unconventional metric, but perhaps fitting. Listeners, it appears this is a book that generates strong feelings one way or another. Reviewers wrestled with themes of truth versus narrative, judging complex characters, the very nature of romance.
Yeah, deep thoughts. Basically, you probably need to read it yourself to figure out if you'll be crying tears of joy, tears of frustration, or just crying because you got stuck pacing on an airplane. Link in the description, maybe if you dare.
Indeed, you've been listening to Heartbook Radio.
Next week, we're reviewing a self-help book titled Your Cat is Plotting Your Demas, Recognizing the Signs. Essential reading.
See you until then.